Holistic Spotlight. I'm your host, Sherry Kachanis, with our co-host, Josie Way, and our guest today is Donna Zakiw, who's a nurse practitioner. Donna Zakiw specializes in holistic and functional medicine. Donna, so would you tell us a little bit about yourself?
I started in Western medicine many years ago, and while we were experimenting with each other, part of our training we had to practice on each other, really not experiment, and I discovered that I had high blood pressure and high cholesterol. I was only 21 years old. I decided that I wasn't going to take medications and go down the road my dad went down on many medications with many health issues. And so I looked into other options at that point. And I didn't get into the holistic arena really until 2004, since 2004. Kind of switched gears.
Do you have a specialty?
My specialty is chronic Lyme disease, but I also treat all chronic infections and symptoms.
And is the treatment the same for every person?
No. When I lecture, I ask people to look around the room, and I ask them if anyone in the room looks like them, and they chuckle. And that's how different we are inside our bodies, as different as we look outside. So no two people get the same treatment.
So it's individually tailored to each person who comes through your door?
Yes, absolutely.
That makes it pretty special.
I think so.
Yes. I think it's fair to say that I've experienced the holistic healing and the treatments, and I had only experienced it once before with the kinesiological work of testing and evaluating various supplements, medications, testing and evaluating my actual health conditions from various organs and systems in my body. And I know there's yet more to be done as far as testing goes. And it was remarkable, the speed and efficacy, and finally having a diagnosis that I intuitively knew was right. I had never really bought the original diagnosis. And the use of supplements, the use of homeopathy, the use of herbs, they all go hand in hand. There's a wonderful mat.
Everybody loves the mat.
Filled with amethyst and tourmaline, gently warmed. And I'm going to ask Donna to better tell you what the mat does and what the herbs and the supplements do to help. I mean, each one is different for each person's, problems, illnesses. But
so the mat that Josie's referring to is the Biomat. My understanding is that it was originally designed for people with chronic Lyme disease. However, it has many healing properties beyond just people who have Lyme disease. The amethyst crystals, which is filled with, are healing. Also, the electromagnetic field, which you get from cell phones, Wi-Fi, is not good for one's health. So while you're on this mat, while you're lying on the mat, it protects you from the electromagnetic field energy. If you put the mat on the highest setting, it actually works as a far infrared sauna, which will detox mercury, metals, chemicals from a person's body. Even mold can be detoxed through the skin, through the sweating, although sweating without a far infrared sauna does not detox, only with the far infrared sauna.
Oh, I didn't know that.
And so the tourmaline, as you know, is grounding. Everybody loves the mat. I think it has a calming effect. People feel relaxed. They usually love the heat as well. So herbs and homeopathy. Homeopathy is an ancient science that nobody really understands how it works. But it's over 200 years old. It originated in Germany. They use plants and flowers, herbs, different naturally occurring things in the plant family, probably maybe from some trees as well. And they dilute them. It can be diluted 100 times, 1,000 times. So more is not necessarily better. They have a vibrational energy.
That's what's in them.
And that's the way I believe they work. It's difficult to figure out what the right homeopathic remedy is for somebody, and the actual training to become a homeopath, I think, is about 3 or 3.5 years. I'm not a homeopath. I only use limited homeopathic remedies that I'm familiar with. The herbs are stronger. So the herbs would be similar to Western medicine in the sense that you can take an herb to treat a symptom. Except that we're made out of energy, and herbs have a vibrational energy, as do we. So you're kind of like putting pieces together that fit of a puzzle, as opposed to taking a Western medication, which is frequently made in a lab and chemicals.
Yeah, synthesized.
Right, but there are times when we do need those as well.
I believe in the best of both worlds.
Yes.
That's my philosophy. You know, you don't throw out the bath water, you know, you don't throw out the baby with the bath water when you decide to get rid of the bath water, you know. There are times when surgery is called for, and that there are times when that would be the absolutely worst approach to, you know, I mean, a bad fingernail, and let's get out the scalpel, you know. No, I know I'm just exaggerating, but
There's a place for both, absolutely.
Yeah, and someday we will see them working side by side, hand in hand.
Hopefully.
Yeah, maybe not in our lives, but I hope to see from the other side, and I will work towards that.
Donna, tell us about your initial consultation with a patient and what's entailed in that process.
So an initial consultation includes a very comprehensive history. I don't know how many pages it is. It's probably 20 to 30, 15, 14 pages. Thank you.
It's long.
It's long. It takes, at least half an hour to fill it out,
It took
maybe
me-
an hour.
An
It
hour.
depends on
An
how many
hour.
symptoms you have.
That's true. That's true. Plus a symptom checklist. So what I generally do is I ask people, what are your if I had a magic wand, what 3 things would you like me to try to get rid of as quickly as possible? And the other thing that's very important for me to know is how willing somebody is to make lifestyle changes.
Why is that important?
Because there are 6 or 7 things that make us sick that lead to all chronic symptoms and chronic diseases. And a couple of them are related to our diets. So if somebody has no interest in making any changes with what they're eating, it's possible that they will not be able to recover their health.
So nutrition is much more important than we've been led to believe.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And that's an integral part of the healing process for your patients?
It is, because again, food has a vibrational energy. So we want to eat real food, which would be fruit, vegetables, nuts, seeds, some animal products, as opposed to packaged, processed things that have other things in them that may not be as healthy.
Do you recommend, you're saying packaged products, so also maybe even breads and things such as that to avoid for people?
Well, probably at least 50% of the population it's now known, have a gluten intolerance. So gluten is the protein in bread that's difficult to digest. It's frequently missed in terms of symptoms. Somebody can go to their doctor and say they're having joint pain, or they may develop high blood pressure. The doctor may not realize that it's from gluten. It's just not going to be up there on their list of causes. So it may not be diagnosed. And there are some physicians who do run the blood work. There is a blood test for it. However, 15% of people who take that blood test will test negative who have gluten intolerance. So what that means is if your test is positive, you have gluten intolerance, but if the test is negative, it doesn't necessarily mean you don't have it.
Doesn't seem like the test is really worth it if that's the case.
I went through an endoscopy to test for celiac disease, and they tested, which is a gluten intolerance.
Right.
I tested okay because nobody told me. They told me after I had the test that I had already gone on the gluten-free diet 2 weeks before, so there were no symptoms in my body anymore of the gluten intolerance.
Yes, that's true. You have to pig out on gluten before the test.
Yeah, to show that you have a problem.
I think the easiest thing to do, it takes up to 72 hours to get symptoms from a food sensitivity, and roughly 72 hours for the symptoms to leave. So if somebody goes off gluten I have them go off it for 5 to 7 days and they're feeling better, then stay off. Although through kinesiology, I can find out if somebody has gluten sensitivity.
Now, for those people that don't know, could you explain kinesiology, especially with your friend over there?
So, kinesiology, there are many types of kinesiology. The type that I do is called autonomic response testing. So we have a central nervous system which has an intelligence. If you go to touch a fire, you don't have to say, well, let's see, I think that's hot, I think I'm going to remove my hand. Your hand automatically goes away from that fire. So a branch of the central nervous system is called the autonomic nervous system. That also has an intelligence. The autonomic nervous system is also responsible for orchestrating all of the organs. So therein lies your hormones, your heart, your stomach, your digestion, your gallbladder and liver, which is for detoxification, your bladder, your thyroid gland, and several others.
And bones and joints, and, to some degree.
Those wouldn't really be organs.
No, they're not organs, but you can get answers about the entire body.
I can, true, right. And so the autonomic response testing is much more commonly used on the West Coast and in Europe than it is on the East Coast. It's not as common here. But it is a way for me to find out what is wrong with a person's body. It's based on quantum physics, which is kind of complex, and what that person needs to heal their body. So this is quite different from Western medicine, which is more taking medication for symptoms.
And invasive.
Well, it can be, but at times, I believe for acute illness, Western medicine is wonderful. If someone's having a heart attack or a stroke, or they've broken a leg, or they have appendicitis, they need to be in a hospital, and it will save a life. For chronic symptoms and chronic conditions, my approach is quite different from that Western approach. So it would be more to find out what is causing the problem, and how can, if we remove the cause and we heal the organs that are affected, or the joints, then we can promote a cure. We can get rid of that problem. An example is what I alluded to earlier about finding out at 21 years old that I had high blood pressure and high cholesterol, which both my parents had. And I don't have high blood pressure or high cholesterol, and I've never been on any medication, but I did make changes. I made sacrifices. I gave up coffee. I was careful not to have processed foods that have salt in them. Non-steroidals, which not everybody is familiar with that term. That can be Motrin, Naproxen, Advil. There are many brands. Ibuprofen. Those can raise blood pressure. So I wouldn't take those. And probably some other things along the way. And I'm fine. So just because you even have a family history, I think people think, oh, my mom and my dad had arthritis, that's why I have it. You may have a predisposition to it, but it doesn't mean it has to express itself, because we have a huge gene pool, and those genes don't have to express themselves. So by finding out why did mom and dad have it, probably the same reason that you have it is why your parents had it. It might have been gluten intolerance. Or nightshades can cause arthritis. So by finding out what's causing it, and then healing those joints and removing that, a person's body can heal. Our bodies innately want to be healthy. They want us to feel good and be healthy. And our lifespan is supposed to equal our health span, which people don't realize. What does that mean? That means that if you are predestined to live 65 years, you're supposed to be healthy until you're 65 and then just pass away. People think that they're supposed to be sick, that they get to a certain age and they have pain and aches because they're getting older. It's not true. Nobody should have aches or pains. It means that something's wrong, and we need to find out what's causing that so we can get rid of it.
Donna,
and
you
heal.
mentioned nightshades. What are those specifically?
So nightshades are a group of foods that have a substance in them that certain people's bodies are not able to break down.
Okay.
So potatoes, nicotine, eggplant, peppers, tomatoes. Did I say tomatoes?
Yes. It's okay, you said it twice.
And I'll say it again, no. So I think that's pretty much it.
Do they cause joint pain in some people?
They can. They can also cause migraine headaches.
Ah, okay. Good to know.
But not in everyone.
Not in
Exactly.
everyone, exactly. And because it's a delayed reaction, somebody may eat tomatoes today and get a migraine in 2 days and think, oh, I have no problem with nightshades. I didn't get a migraine today.
But through kinesiology, you could probably pick that up.
Absolutely.
Things that are less obvious. The interesting part, though, is knowing what questions to ask, so that you do pick up the harder to diagnose items. But you've learned after a while, well, if this person's having migraines, nightshades might be
Right,
a cause.
right. Right, it's one of many. The nitrates, sulfites, there are many chemicals
Yeah, those are the
and
chemicals.
food additives that can trigger migraines, as well as perfume, as a bright sun, not enough sleep.
Isn't caffeine in chocolate or?
You know, people say that. I've yet to really see somebody get a migraine from those things. I haven't found that anyone that's eliminated those things not get any more migraines. And actually, some of the medications for migraines have caffeine in them. So I'm not so sure that that's really accurate for most people with migraines.
Yeah, because they used to suggest that you stayed away from chocolates and stuff. That was what they thought.
I think there are people that are still saying that, because I've had patients come and say things like that to me.
So when you're with a patient and you have them in your treatment room, what's the first thing that you do? How do you go through the process to diagnose?
So What I do is we eliminate some of the superfluous things that may be in somebody's energy field that I don't really need to be aware of through tapping, which is very similar to EFT, which is emotional field technique. We use MFT. And then we use a third party's arm who's healthy, because it's the most scientific and reproducible way of doing this type of kinesiology. I scan a person's body, so if I touch somebody's head and they have a weakness in their brain, I am actually disturbing the flow of blood and their nervous innervation, and so I'll get a certain response in their arm, in the person whose arm I'm using, as a change in the arm. And so that's basically what I do. I go through and scan the different organs, and when the my assistant's arm changes, it's a change in position. It may be locked or it may be down. It depends on what I have in the energy field as to which way it will go. That signifies to me that there's a problem. So then I say, well, okay, what is causing this problem? Is it a chemical? Is it a heavy metal? Is it a food? Is it a structural problem? Is it an infection? And so I go through my list of 6 or 7 things that may be causing it, and I find which one it is, and then I find out what that organ needs to, so that it can heal itself. How can I assist it in healing?
And sometimes assisting it in healing would be supplements that are made from food, or?
Yes, I frequently use organic whole food supplements.
As well as possibly herbs as well.
Right. Herbs, homeopathy, sometimes all of the above. Those are mostly what I use.
Okay.
And the lovely mat.
There's other things too, such as, do you incorporate other therapies, such as color therapy?
Color therapy.
So color therapy is a lot of fun. So we're made out of energy, and energy has vibrational energy. And so for us to heal, we need different vibrational energies at different times, which is what stones do, like your necklace and Sherry's necklace. They have healing qualities. So does color. Well, stones are color, but just color in and of itself has healing properties. So I have a box of rainbow glasses, colors of the rainbow, and people really love the glasses because the color, I intuitively know which color they need. A lot of times they either want to buy them or they want to know, they don't want to take them off, because they're giving, that color has a vibrational energy, and it's giving them something that their cells in their body needs to help them heal.
So you use a variety of methods in your process to help people heal.
Yes.
Depending upon how ill a person has been and for how long, what would be an average of, let's say, somebody who was ill for a year? That how long do you think it would take, or would it be individual with each one?
It's individual, but it also depends on their diagnosis. I have had people come for 1 or 2 treatments. That's all they need. It's just figuring out what's wrong, eliminating it, healing that organ or organs, and they're good to go.
Yeah, like the calcium that you told me about, that for tremors. You know, that should eventually be
That will
very
go away.
quickly go away,
Yes.
compared to my other problems.
It really depends. It doesn't necessarily depend on how long somebody's had a symptom. Somebody can have migraines for 30 years. When we find out what the trigger is, they can be free of migraines just by eliminating what was triggering it. If somebody has advanced arthritis from, let's say, nightshades, it may not be possible it really depends on how much damage has been done to the joints as to how much healing we can be able to expect. But certainly there should be some relief
We have only about a minute left in the show. I think that was Spirit telling us that.
A little loudly.
That noise. If there was one thing that you would like to say about having a holistic practice, that you would like the audience to know, what would that be?
Well, I think it's very much mind, body, spirit, Josie. It's not just healing the physical body. The physical body is the last thing that's affected. It's really the thought processes. Thoughts are very powerful. It's the spiritual body. It's the emotional body. And when those things are not in sync, eventually the physical body will be ill.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
That actually brings up a question. Do you send some of your patients to other people for different types of treatments to assist with their process?
Absolutely.
Do you find
good
it's
to know.
beneficial for them?
Frequently, yes. Neurolinguistic programming, healers, energy healers,
Massage therapist.
massage therapy, family constellation work,
Craniosacral?
craniosacral, lymphatic drainage massage.
Yes, I was going to say. I couldn't think of the name.
Sometimes acupuncture.
Mm.
So again, I generally get a sense about what would benefit a person, and that's where we start with what I think may help. But it's very important to utilize other modalities. I can't help anybody heal without the help of others.
Are you located in Rhode Island?
I am. I'm on the east side of Providence.
So pretty easy
It's
to
easy
get
to get to. Well, except when your GPS takes you the long way. Oh, heavens.
Anything else you'd like to tell us about yourself today?
No, but I thank you very much for having me here. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, you're what my friends called me, a transplant here from New York.
Mm-hmm.
And as they said, we'll let you grow here.
I love Rhode Island. I feel like I've come home.
That's a
It's
good feeling.
place.
It is.
You know, when you feel like you're somewhere where you're supposed to be.
Yeah, and that's very healing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Now, some of the things that are less than healing, though, that we didn't talk too much about, you mentioned it, are the environmental pollutions within our homes that can make our homes less than healthy.
Yes, very true.
The I know you suggested turning off the alarm the clocks and stuff like that in the bedroom area while I'm sleeping, and I know there are protections for when you have to be sitting at a desk with a computer all the time.
Mm-hmm. That's the electromagnetic field energy.
Yeah,
Some people are more sensitive to that, Josie, than others.
yeah.
It's not really good for any of us, but some people can feel it.
And what are the usual recommendations to counteract that?
Would stones be beneficial in helping combat EMF?
Yes, very much.
Which stones would you recommend? Well, obviously amethyst and tourmaline, and black tourmaline specifically, I think is very
Hematite for
grounding.
some people.
Hematite, yes.
Hematite's been amazing.
Well, that's all
Especially
we
for
have
GI.
today. Thank you for joining us on the Psychic Holistic Spotlight. Thank you, Donna, for joining us today.
You're welcome. Thank you.
You're welcome.
And thank you to the audience for being with us. Please come and join us again.